Well, hello, and welcome to this stream. If you have just joined, that period of black was for no reason whatsoever, none whatsoever. It has been a very, very long time since I've done a live stream, so thank you for joining me, and hopefully... Oh, oops, let me just mute myself so I don't come back to myself. There we go. Folks are starting to join in. Great to see you, Big Sarge. And oh my goodness, look at the names just coming in. Pillow of Evil. Ah, dear, oh dear. There's a good friend of mine who I had the pleasure of playing some Star Trek with only in August. So, hey, how are you doing, Harry? Slore. Hopefully your book has been sorted out. Wow, just fantastic, fantastic. There's Arak Van Roxalot, whom I'm going to be playing with a game with later on in the month. Super excited for that. So, absolutely wonderful to see you all starting to jump in. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so we're basically not going to start anything for the first 5 or 6 minutes, just to let people kind of know what's going on, that it's happening, and I just remembered I should do a post onto Discord. And so, you know, it's been a while. It's been, not everything, everything on the Discord server, including people. Right, so everyone, I'm now live on www.youtube.com. Otherwise, I get shouted at by Laura Bones. So there we are. And so that's gone up, and that's been posted there and there and there. So fantastic. Glad to hear it, Laura. So that's good. That DM guy. Hey, there you are. There you are. I'll be answering your questions and talking about the new Kickstarter. Right. And we've got some really cool stuff happening. We have got some really cool stuff happening. Right, now all of that's out of the way. We've got some really, really cool stuff happening this evening. And it's obviously about the big launch of this, our latest Kickstarter. And, you know, player guide... That was our last one. Did really well for us. We were really happy with that. And so Braxia has been a long time in coming. Now, if you have been a fan of this channel, you have seen Braxia over and over and over again. Is there anyone here who remembers the Windswift Chronicles? Anyone in chat remember the Windswift Chronicles? Because that was basically one of the first ones, I think, that... really featured Braxia in a significant way, and that sort of proliferated for a long time. Although the Bacon Battalion, wow, going back even further, Bacon Battalion, that was, I suppose, the first long-running foray into Braxia. So there we are. Oh, look at you. Most of you remember it. There we go. And first question is already out. If you are going to ask a question, please remember to put the word question in caps just in front of your question. It just helps me find it in the chat. Lloyd McKenzie, busy watching the Windswift stuff now. Well, Lloyd, it's a journey and a half. They do go to Drakkenmore, but it's towards the end. I'm trying to remember what happened there. Not much. I remember the druid turning into a crow a lot, and them fleeing quite quickly. So that was that one. Sean is here. Ensign Guthrie in the house. Fantastic, fantastic. What a character. An engineer who didn't want to be in charge ended up being in charge. It was such a lovely character journey that happened there. So the instrument formerly known as mayonnaise. Good heavens. Watching this while I'm working on my one-shot I have for tomorrow. Fantastic. Well, hopefully we can give you some inspiration. I mean, that is part and parcel of what this entire Kickstarter is about anyway, is creating a space in which you as the GM can create stuff, one-shots or campaigns, where there is more support than you could possibly hope to ever include, but that it's not super overwhelming and is just going to drive you nuts and make you feel overwhelmed. Let's put it that way. So And I've just realized that there may be, yeah, so that should help with the color a little bit. I noticed that there was a green screen effect on. Right, so now let us see where we are. So the first question that came in, this was from Salor, and it was, what do you like most about your Braxia book? Goodness. What I like most about the Braxia book is that I can literally turn to a random page, or at least I will be once the book is finished. I can turn to a random page and it will feature one of the regions within that book. Now, a region is not to be thought of as a continent, but region is as a culture. So culturally, there are 22 very distinct regions, and you can turn to anywhere in the book, find a region, find a culture, and find a thing in that region and go, this is an adventure. Right, great. I now know what my pieces are doing. They have a quest to go to this place, wherever it might be in Braxia, and this is what they have to do. They have to try and find the, the dew of the desert. A little plant that grows once every 100 years. It releases a single drop of sap. And that sap, if collected at exactly the right time, will restore 1d10 years to a character's life. They just get 1d10 years back. It's worth a fortune and grows in the heart of the Sajeti Desert. So, you know, there are these things like that where you're like, cool. I mean, it's not mind-blowing. I'm not going, but this is a fun thing because who else is trying to harvest this stuff? Who's trying to protect it? Who's trying to grow it? Where does it come from? Etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, the book as you know, with all of my previous books, it is all about making it practical. It has to be usable. Otherwise, it's just a giant history book or a travelogue. And whilst those are fun and entertaining, they are not useful for a DM. Not if the DM is going to be running a game and goes, oh, my players are in a forest. What's happening in a forest? Right, turn to a region that's got lots of forest in it. Oh, cool. He has a whole bunch of ideas. So I guess that's pretty much where it is. Let's see, who else? Overboard. Hi there, guy. I'm still using my Guide to Nautical Campaigns. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Guide to Nautical Campaigns. I remember writing that. I had such a wonderful team helping me in Minneapolis. And we would play test stuff and we'd work on stuff. And that was what a journey that's been since that time period. But even there, nautical campaigns, all of the ships, all of the ideas about sailing ships, those came from Braxia. And the idea of having different species have different types of ships and things, that's all Braxia. That's where Braxia came from. So Braxia has been with us for a very long time. Very long time. Great question, Arak says. Was Windswift the one with Sean Connery donkey? I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Sean Connery donkey is something that I, as the GM, I kind of have a few go-to NPCs that I just like to drop into my games. And Sean Connery as a donkey who's going to give people advice on how not to be an ass. See what I did there? Yes, indeed. So, Donkey has always been Sean Connery, and he features wherever there's a donkey that needs to give some acerbic advice. I think Windswift definitely was one of the early versions of Donkey, without a doubt. A Lad also, I think, came in during Windswift, although a Lad might have been later with Nautical Campaigns, as a matter of fact, with Ghosts of Saltmarsh, that stream, which, although Ghosts of Saltmarsh theoretically was set in a sort of D&D space, you all know I remade that map, and of course it does actually fit into Braxia somewhere. So there we are. Okay, right, let's see. I love all of these things. I love all these questions. Right, so, question was donkey. Yes, okay, right. I'm writing a full lore and history book because of you, good sir. Well, fantastic, that DM guy. Do it. Do it. It is so much fun and it is so interesting. And if you really want some great advice check out World Building Blueprints by Marie Mullany. I've been speaking about that quite a lot on my sister channel, the other channel that I run, called Guide Adventures, so you can go and check that out. That book will help you. It definitely will help you. Okay, so Glenn1N says, question, if you water down that dew by 10 times, will it restore 1 life to 10 people? Also, if you are dying of a disease, will it cure it? Oh, Glenn, so many great questions. So to answer the question about the disease, because that's the easiest one, all that it does is it rolls you back 10 years from a health perspective. So you'll still have the disease, but you'll now be 10 years younger. So technically, if you had an aging disease which aged you, this would undo the disease. But if you had, say, leprosy, you'd just have leprosy on a 10-year younger body. With regards to diluting it in water, there have been so many Sagetti sand merchants who have done this and tried this. Sadly, somehow the efficacy doesn't work. You have to take the full dose, or that's it. It just doesn't work. And it is a random roll of 1d10. So you might only get back 1 year. You might get back the full 10. Statistically, you're probably going to get back 5. There we go. Another question. MJ Larkin. Hello, Mr. Larkin. I wonder what you're doing. Because you ran around Braxia for a bit. I wonder what your favorite region was that you scandalized. Because you kind of went to the Dwarvish territories and the Sagetti territories. And the Kubalia to a degree. And ran around Brunei. Anyway. My favorite region of Braxia and why. That is... Wow, that is impossible. I'm busy looking at a map, by the way. I've got a map here, which, you know what, I'm going to bring up. I'm going to show you as a teaser, So I think it's up. Let's just have a look and see. That would be this one. Nope, that would be this one. Yes, so I've got a map of Braxia here in front of me. As a matter of fact, if I do that, you'll see the full map, which we can then move around. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, this thing that's allowing me to move around Braxia. But, you know, in terms of my favorite areas, I mean, I don't want to be glib and say, oh, I love them all because I created them all. You know, I'm just so brilliant that I can choose. I would say the area that I really enjoy playing the most. Goodness. It's got to be... You stumped me. You've stumped me. I love the Sagetti territory. Here we go. This gigantic territory of sand. And I think the reason why I love it is because frequently when I'm describing it to people, they're like, oh my goodness, I can see this thing so clearly in my head. It really stands out. And there's so much cool stuff going on in that desert. For a desert, it is very, very busy. Yeah, having said that, Drakenmoor, I love Drakenmoor, the Cathar Sodality. I haven't spent enough time in the Cathar Sodality. I will say that. I created the Cathar Sodality because a specific friend of mine wanted to play a Tabaxi. And I was like, cool, I've got some open ocean. And lo, there was a continent called the Cathar Sodality. And, you know, one of the things that I love about the Cathar Sodality is this area here. The Sina Lake, which runs through the Kana River down into Taimori Bay. It is full of minerals that have a certain property that just drive Tabaxi mad. It's like catnip. It literally is just catnip. But it makes everything orange. It's one of their major exports. It's a spice that is used in all kinds of dishes and things. And it's just one of my favorite sort of regions from that perspective. Anyway, I could go on and on and on and on and on for days. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue to say hello to these amazing folk. We've got Laura Bones in the house. There's Laura Bones. You've got to be careful of her. She's still a moderator on this stream. So play nice. Right. Let's see. Let's just go back to that question. I love Donkey. I am new to this page. Is this for a unique game or for D&D? Asks Aaron Cantrell. Well, Aaron, this is specifically designed for D&D 5.24. So the 2024 edition of D&D. I've actually got the expert in chat, MJ Larkin. Yeah, I'm calling you out there, buddy. Who is going to be designing the monsters. So I've got all of the monsters in Braxia. But when it comes to actual numbers and rules and writing down the numbers and things, I'm sort of like, well, it's got a +5-ish to hit. Is that scary enough? No, well, it's now +7 because it's grown stronger or smarter. Anyway, so we are writing it all to work for 5.24 and be compatible with 5.24, and the layout will look like 5.24 layout as well. So, I mean, that's not to say that you can't use this in 5th edition or in 3.5 or 4th edition. It's just that the stat blocks won't be appropriate for what you're doing, So bear that in mind. This is one of the big anguishes is when you're releasing content. You've got to make it compatible with. Well, you've got to make it compatible with the biggest role-playing game that there is at the moment. So there you are. Next up, what will probably not get into the book, but you really want to? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, there is one region of Braxia which makes me nervous. And that is this region down here, the Graithmark. And I'll tell you why. The Graithmark is, for all intents and purposes, designed to represent a medieval kind of Nazi space. The names are all very Germanic in their styling. The Graith who live there are these giant humanoid dog folk, canine folk, the Graith, and it's idyllic when you visit the Graithmark. It's absolutely idyllic. Everybody has their place, everyone follows the rules, but they believe that they are the superior culture in the entire galaxy, or anyway, in the entire planet, and they are also isolated from everybody else. They've been completely cut off. So the Graithmark is a very dark space, and one has to be aware that this is not everybody's cup of tea to have this kind of space running around. So the Graithmark is probably going to be tempered a little bit to make it more applicable, because when you're creating a world space, most of the time you have the luxury of creating it for people around your table, and so you know what those people around your table are willing to accept and not willing to accept. And so this is one of those ones where you're going, well, we've got to think commercially here. So there might be some stuff that doesn't come in through there. Otherwise, there is a theme in the book which a lot of people press against, and that's slavery. Slavery will be in the book. It is in the book because it's all about demonstrating how evil slavery is, but also how complex slavery can be. Because in the Sajeti Empire, for example, they have slaves. They have more slaves than they have Sajeti occupants. And they take slaves during raids. People can sell themselves into slavery. A lot of the slavery in the Sajeti Empire is indentured slavery. So people have sold themselves into slavery for 10 years. They'll earn a small wage. They'll learn skills and things. And then they're released after 10 years and they go off and do whatever it is that they do. So that's that kind of slavery. In the Cathar Republic, there are a form of slavery which is based on your caste. What is your family name? Well, unfortunately, that's a slave name, so you can never rise above that space. Again, it's commentary saying, hey, these cultures they're not unique cultures. These are drawn from our own history. Are they good? Are they bad? They're not either. The commentary is not there. It's a case of, this is what it is. You decide how you want to portray this. I don't ever recommend, of course, you portray slavery as a good thing, but it is a thing, and that's what makes this space special. There are other places where slavery is absolutely banned. The gnomes, the halflings, the humans, slavery is not a good thing. Even the orcs don't like slavery. The goblins don't like slavery. The Ethane elves, well, there, at birth, you are allocated a position by the ruling party, depending on what's needed within the Ethane territory. And you have some who are assigned leadership, some who are assigned merchant, and some who are assigned to the servant class, the slave class, who, they're not called slaves because slavery implies a certain, slavery is against the will, usually. That's why we have the word indentured. However, these individuals who accept their position because that's the logical choice of action are servile. They have no choice, they have no free will, they're assigned to someone who is responsible for their upkeep, but who's also capable of giving them orders to follow that they are not allowed to disobey. So it's looking at all of those kind of things. And so I think, yeah, it's really just the great that I've got to be kind of careful with just from a sensitivity perspective. Wow, that was a long answer to a question, but hey, you know me. I love Donkey. I love Donkey too. The instrument formerly known as mayonnaise asks, if you could live in one region of Braxia, where would you go? Wow, where would I go? That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, Brunei is medieval religious mania, so probably not there. The halflings, they're run by the gnomes. The gnomes keep changing colors of areas, so that's no good. You know, the Fallen Lands, or the Fallow Lands, depending on how you pronounce them, well, not how you pronounce them, what species and culture you're from, is pretty good. You've got some lovely people. There's lots of ice. It's nice and cold. You've got the Telantari Bay, which is pretty cool. You do have goblins as neighbors, but that's okay. That's okay. I probably, yeah, but then having said that, you know, the Kabalia Hechbiofkor is an amazing city. So maybe, yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question. Okay. Pillow of Evil says, Guy, I just want to say thank you for your contribution to the hobby. Oh, absolutely. I don't know if I've contributed a huge amount, but I thank you nonetheless. It has been a wonderful journey. Your advice from your guide videos I listened to back in 2019 is what formed my core style. Clear memories I'll remember forever. Well, that is really touching, and I certainly can tell you, it has been an amazing journey that I am on. I am always flabbergasted when people say things like that, and it really is. It's really touching. Thank you. That DM guy says, question, are you still using Dungeon Fog? So yes, I am, although this map was not made in Dungeon Fog. Full confessional, this map was made in Incarnate. Dungeon Fog has got their Deos project, which is a world builder, and I'm waiting for that to get into beta release, which is soon, end of October, hopefully. And then we've got to see. We've got to see. Now, during the Kickstarter, by the way, one of the things that we are going to be looking at during the Kickstarter is the maps. What do we do with the maps? Are they going to be something like Incarnate, which, and this map was made a very long time ago on Incarnate, and I know that they've improved the look of their maps already. I mean, I like the look of this map. Are we going to go with Deos? Are we going to go with some map making software? Or would it be better if I were to hand draw it myself? Because the original Braxia was hand drawn, and somewhere I must have the scans of the graph paper that I drew Braxia on, and it would be interesting to see what has changed, because I know that map changed significantly over time. Not so much the layout, but the Catharsidality didn't exist in the first iteration of Braxia. That I can tell you for sure. Centauri did not exist in Braxia. That's the land to the north here, where the centaurs prevail. And this only came into existence because I needed somewhere for Goliaths to exist, that species that was added to D&D 3.5. And I needed a prison, which is Naxa. So I was like, well, we'll just put it here because why not? So yeah, anyway, so that's one of the polls we're going to be running is hand-drawn, computer-assisted. What are we doing? I mean, do we just want to throw it to AI? No, we're not going to do that. We're not using AI in this project at all. But you know, that's one of the questions is what are we going to do? William Sharp. No, lost it. What's your fit? No, I've done that one. Did I do that one? Can we? Wait, sorry. Oh, I've lost my place. Wait a second. Where are we? To the plot. Are you still using no? Okay, right. I'm back. William Sharp says your content is awesome. I'm hoping to GM my first Star Wars adventure. Fantastic, wonderful. Yes, love Star Wars. Absolutely love it. My first rulebook that I ever purchased, but certainly not the first rule system that I ever played in, was Star Wars, the West End Games D6 version, which is still on the bookshelf in the back. You won't be able to see it, but it is back there somewhere. That blue-covered hardcover book. Fantastic. Star Wars is a lot of fun. Right, we continue to work through the questions. Glenn is back on this. What about a Dew of Wisdom, which advances you by 10 years in knowledge and experience? Well, if there is a plant that does that, I would imagine that would probably be here, right on the edge in the Eldani territories. The Eldani territories, cannibal elves. These are my version of wood elves, but they're cannibals. And so you can go there. You can try and find this thing in the Hunterhaue forest. But good luck to you surviving. Because, yeah, cannibal wood elves that blend into the trees and that can walk through trees from one tree to another. Very terrifying space. So good luck with that one. Link the Vampire says, hello, Guy. Always good to see you again. Well, it's always great to see you in chat, so I really do appreciate seeing you there. DBK says, hello, Guy. Great to see you. Just FYI, the link to the YouTube channel in the Discord announcements channel is not correct in the message announcing the stream. Right, okay. I mean, that's not great game master. But then I see that. Oh, look at that. Commander Bones fixed it for me. Thank you, Commander Bones. Vincent Abramo says, how do you handle invasions and large-scale battles in Braxia? Vincent, I am grateful that you asked that question because, and I swear we didn't pay you to ask that question, or at least if we did, my business partner didn't tell me. Just give me a second here because I've got a new display for you. Yeah, no, still not that one. This one, right. So, on the Kickstarter, you will find that there is this. It is a link, and it is my mass battle system. And this you can download for free once the Kickstarter launches in just under half an hour, 32 minutes. And this is a very rough layout of the mass combat system that I put together. Now, if you've been a patron of the channel, you will have already had these rules. I previewed these rules at D&D in a Castle for my groups, and it breaks down mass armies. So here's an army of a dragon, that's CR 14, 700 skeletons that are CR a quarter, 120 minotaurs, 30 shadows, 12 specters of varying difficulties. This breaks them down into a single entity that you roll for, and it turns it into a really cool battle. So these rules you can download once Kickstarter launches, free of charge. I actually think it might be on the follow page as well. So yeah, it's a system that I have been working on since Nautical Campaigns, as a matter of fact. Since that first book in 2019, I've been looking at how do we make battles bigger, better, cooler, more epic, because that's, you know, me. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Okay. Lord Reginald says, will there be any compatibility with systems like Daggerheart? So, as I've mentioned earlier, in terms of this kind of stuff, right? If you look here, okay. So what I'm using right now to scrub around this whole thing, you can't see the software name because I've cut it off because I'm an idiot. But this is the Braxia World app that I'm in. And you can see all of these flags all over the place, right? And there are these little pins down here as well. And whenever I click on one of them, it opens up and you can't see it because it's not showing you properly. Give me just a second here, folks. Let's fix this problem. Let's fix this problem. Right, so now you can see a little bit more. Oops. Live stream correction on the fly, not recommended. So you can see that this is an app which our amazing web goblin, Derek, put together and has been building for the last year, based on me going, this is what I want to do, and I need you to make it happen. Just do it, okay? I want to be able to use Google Earth, but for Braxia. And so the web goblin went away, and he's created this. This is still a work in progress. We're still refining it and adding it and building to it. But what this does is I can click anywhere on the world, and I get a brief overview of what's going on. I can double click and get a much closer up map, and that's also got a whole bunch of different content embedded into it. And so if you look at this content, right? So this is how crime and punishment, cultural attitudes of Northern Brunei, a section within. This has no 5th edition information in it. What will have 5th edition information is when you come to one of the adventures. So the adventures, there are adventures littered on every single region. There are multiple adventures, and there are 4 versions of each adventure. Here you can see them. This is one adventure. A scholarly excavation of an old temple ruin keeps coming under attack by strange creatures. The ruins are not significant magically, just historically, as they belong to an elvish god long forgotten. So that's the basic of the adventure. And then you decide what type of adventure it's going to be based on one of my 4 adventure types: thwarting, collecting, delivering, or discovering. And then there's a write-up of what you can add in. Again, still nothing for 5th edition. It's only when we get to unique creatures that specifically get stat blocks, that's when it would say, well, here is, let's say, a glass dragon. Right, here are the stats for a glass dragon and a writer for the glass dragon as a 5th edition character monster. But how it operates, where it lives, all of the information about that is going to be generic. It's going to be whatever it is that you need it to be in terms of information. So I don't know, I hope that answers your question, because that's how the book is written. It is written to be useful information. Ghent Moor. If your characters go to Ghent Moor, what's happening in Ghent Moor? What can we learn about? What's happening? So that's that. Right. Keep going. Jay McCoy says, is it live on Kickstarter? It shows it's still coming. Yes, absolutely. Because finally I can cut to this screen here, which is the website, which, as you can see, it says, good news, your project has been approved. And all I have to do is press this I'm ready to launch button, which I will be doing in 27 minutes time at 8 o'clock on the hour. To launch this project. So we're just talking about why this project's important. We're talking about all kinds of cool and wonderful stuff as well. And so there we are. So we will press that button in a little bit. Hold your horses. Right. Now, Guy, to the comment earlier about what system it's for, I mainly use Pathfinder, but I'm still getting the book 100% because it's your ideas and storytelling that I value the most. Can't wait to read it. Rick Music, fantastic, thank you. And I hope that my answer to the previous question has now made it even more worthwhile. Okay. Jay McCoy says, can we get an untempered version? Maybe via an add-on or patron only. Untempered version. What's an untempered version, do you mean there, Jay McCoy? Expand on that for me. Glenn says, very progressive. Thank you. Linked Vampire says, what's your favorite part of world building in general? Oh, I need a... Okay. My favorite part of world building. My favorite part of world building is when I put a map together like this one here, and I start zooming in, and I see a name. Now, bearing in mind, I will, generally speaking, look at terrain first and go, okay, great. These mountain ranges that run horizontally, they will cut off, generally speaking, one kingdom from another. It's difficult to cross them. When you cross them, everything that you had learned about in your particular latitude is no longer valuable to you. It's colder, it's wetter, it's drier, it's harsher. The crops that you could grow no longer grow. So migration is very slow when you're crossing horizontal mountains. Vertical mountains are not so much of a problem. When you cross from one side to the other, pretty much the conditions stay the same because you're at the same latitude. So that's where I start. I kind of go, okay, cool. So these mountains here, the Thousand Spire Mountains. Right, let's talk about the Thousand Spire Mountains. So we then jump into a close-up of the map, and you can see Thousand Spire Mountains here, and there's a write-up about the Thousand Spire Mountains. 1,200 miles long, so it's a huge mountain range. And so Howdenley, Dade, and Tull were originally a kingdom, isolated from the north, from up here, where we've got Wold and Banksley and Sparvan and Kimber. They would have been a nation, a separate nation, originally. So that's what I love, is starting to look at places and go, okay, cool, Ryden Forest. What happens in Ryden Forest? It's about 200 miles long. It's a pretty dense forest. It's next to Howdenley, about 70 miles away, give or take. Ryden Forest, what happens? Apparently there's a carnival just parked outside of it. I forgot about this adventure. It's really cool. But Ryden Forest is also the home of a bunch of werewolves. Or at least they were in one of the adventures that I was running. And Dade, in a swamp, in Sinner Swamp, as a matter of fact. Why was it called Sinner Swamp? So I start writing down these names. I just throw down names at random. And then start to say, okay, well, this is a kingdom. These names need to be in a similar kind of sounding space. So, for example, if we go from the very human-centric territory, let's go to the Grays territory. Why not? So in the Grays territory, you've got Burlachstech, Falstach, Darrestach, Ondafen. So very different names. And again, it's still the same process. You go nicht so schön Marsch. Now, nicht so schön is just German. It's just German, right? But spelled differently. And this swamp, I don't know. What's going on here? I don't know. But the town of Brondon is right there. It's a coastal town. So nicht so schön Marsch needs to have something that could be of value for trade. And yeah, you just wander around Himmelscrape Mountains. I mean, any of you who are from Europe, Himmelscrape, yes, the heavens scraping mountains. That's definitely my favorite part, is working out who lives there and why. And how do they survive there, and what happens? And when the geography doesn't make sense, it's like, but why doesn't the geography make sense? Is it just magic? Is it this? Is it that? Anyway, so there we go. Right. Lloyd Mackenzie says, question, is there anything in Braxia that is not informed by some aspect of human history that's entirely from you or your player's imagination? No, I think if I honestly answer it, if you look at Braxia, one of the reasons why I made Braxia was because I wanted a space that my players could wander around in and know nothing about, right? And yet, when they were wandering around, they might go, oh, this is familiar, because my knowledge, my history knowledge is pretty good. Oh, okay, so this is kind of like that. Having said that, you know what? The Athene meritocracy, or the Athene democracy as it was called in this version of the map, there is no culture that this is based on. The elves, at birth, you're segregated into your class, what you will be doing for the rest of your life, or into the servile class. It is a meritocracy, so it is all about being the best. The ruling class, they try not to show any emotions because that's what the lower classes do. So they're kind of cold and distant, kind of like the British aristocracy versus the serving classes from Downton Abbey type of thing. But again, not really. They're elves, they're high elves, but they're even higher and snootier than they normally are. Most of the players who've encountered high elves from the Athene territories don't like them. They don't particularly care because that's their nature. So by making everything link back to a culture or a people or a group, what that does is instead of players stepping into this entire world where they have to read a book to know what's going on, they can step in and go, oh yeah, cool, I know exactly kind of what's going on. I get that strong sense of this culture or that culture. The goblins are Australian, and that's not because I think Australia is a bad place or is where goblins come from. I just think that Australians, like South Africans, are a hardy bunch of individuals who work and play hard and who live in a difficult territory. And so the goblins are basically Australian in their approach, but they're still goblins. They have clans, they are prolific breeders, they have a matron mother who just rules the roost with an iron fist. So they basically are just Australians. But yeah, it's not a specific culture, if you will. All right, I think that answers your question. I will get to the end of these questions before I get to the end of my answers. Something like that. Anyway, I'm just so excited to be back doing a live stream again and to be launching this new Kickstarter. Chad says, hello, guy. Love your channels and insights. Thanks, Chad. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Eric says, question, what's the New York of Braxia? The Paris of Braxia, the Las Vegas of Braxia, the third world of Braxia. Wow. Okay, so without a doubt, if I had to, I would say I don't know what's beeping. My desk is beeping at me. Oh, I should be standing. I don't know. Anyway, sorry about that. Without a doubt, the New York of Braxia is Hefbjorkor. It is the capital city of the tieflings, the devilkin. It is a giant cylindrical tower that goes down into the ground. It doesn't stick above the ground very high. It's a very domed looking city. It goes straight down, and it has got some beautiful spaces, the ones higher up. It's got some awful spaces, the ones lower down. And it's a cosmopolitan place. It's got lots of different cultures that are there. You can get anything you want there. You can sell anything that you want there. So I would definitely say that Hefbjorkor is probably the New York. What was the other one that you said? Paris. Paris. Well, it depends. Are we talking real Paris, or are we talking kind of the romanticized version of Paris? Because the real Paris, I would say, would be Quetlin. And Quetlin is the Athenian city. It's called Quetlin, the city of whispers. I've had so many players, interestingly enough, destroy Quetlin by tsunami quite a lot of times. Anyway, Quetlin is 6 towers, 6 white towers. Each tower represents a different aspect of the city: commerce, research, exploration, that sort of thing. The central tower is the administration space. But it is a beautiful city. It is absolutely beautiful. There are breathtaking spaces. The library, the museums that are in Quetlin are just mind-blowing. It's also very old. And so I would say that would be Paris. And then what was the other place? No, lost it. Where was that question? Oh, no. Oh, it's gone. Well, third world. I think you said third world. For third world, as in not very well developed, that I'm going to say is probably any one of the goblin towns. So Grobflung, Pispon, Uyak, Meineke, Mercia, Pugglesnuff. The goblins are not particularly focused on hygiene. If it's going to kill you, you should have just grown up stronger. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I would say they're the least developed. Although at the same time, like most third world countries, there is some remarkable ingenuity that goes on with those places. And you want to build a weapon that's going to blow up a mountain? Sure, let's do it. We'll make a plan. We'll figure it out. Might kill 20,000 people, but you know what? We'll do it, and it'll be cheap. It might only work once. No guarantees, genuine copies only. So there we go. Right. I've answered that one. Question. Imagine your family member which is least interested in TTRPGs. What would they like the most about Braxia? With least interest of TTRPGs, I think they would probably like, and this is just because it is what it is, I would say probably either the Sagetti Empire, because that's very much based on ancient Egypt in terms of that. But now imagine if the Egyptians, instead of just living for 70 years, lived for 1,000 years. How much bigger would those monuments be? Yes, we're going to build a giant obelisk that needs to be a mile high. We've got magic, we've got slaves, and we've got plenty of time. We are not being rushed in case the Pharaoh dies. The Pharaoh is going to die in 800 years. We're pretty good. So there is that. I would say another area that they certainly can look at, which is an area that, as you can see, the map is very different from the surface map. This is the Underfell. This is where the Drow live. And the Drow I have structured very specifically around a Roman republic. They have praetors, they have senators, they have a military, and this is a map of the Underfell. It's like these are caverns and cities that are connected. Figure it out. So there's that. I mean, yeah, it could also be Little Mermaid, right? Because there's the aquatic maps. These are the territories that the aquatics have. But yes, I would say probably the Sagetti Empire. It's just visually very, very grand. Right. There's the question. Las Vegas. Las Vegas has got to be Howdenlee. Howdenlee has been destroyed more times than any other city in Braxia. Most player groups end up destroying it. I have had it destroyed by waves. I've had it destroyed by a giant hole opening up underneath it and dropping it into the Underdark. I have had it destroyed by a giant kraken. I have had it destroyed by fire. I have had it overrun by undead that are controlled by a giant undead army. And all of the inhabitants turned into undead. What else has happened at Howdenlee? Yeah. I've had brain-blowy, uppy shadow monsters take over Howdenlee. Howdenlee is definitely the Las Vegas. There's so much going on. There's 3 tiers to that city, and each tier is focused on something different. There's a trade tier, there's a commoners tier, and there's the elite tier. Definitely. Okay, right. So that's that one done. Yes. Okay. Oh, goodness. Bum, 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 bum. Where are we? Nope, it jumped too much. My goodness, I am so far behind on these questions. Glenn, the subject of slavery demands a lot of maturity in a gaming group. However, do you believe that it's even possible to have a setting without some form of slavery? Sorry for the serious nature. No, Glenn, absolutely. I mean, it's an absolutely relevant question. The challenge that we have is when you look at the concept of slavery, what is it linked to specifically within the human species, right? Because we don't know what it would be linked to in an orcish species or in an elvish species or in a goblin species. In humans, it's linked to how much value is there placed on a life. Does a life have worth? Does it have value? Is there something that is seen as intrinsically of galactic or universal value within a life? And when there is no value to life, when life has no value whatsoever, that's when we see slavery. Oh, you're different from us, so you are not as human as we are, so we can enslave you, because we're not enslaving each other, we're enslaving basically a different animal. And we don't have issues with, riding horses or having dogs and cats running around. So whenever you're creating a culture, that culture has to look at other species and at itself and say, do we believe that there is intrinsic value in that individual? Now, from a religious perspective on planet Earth, that has a lot to do with that. right? When suddenly we went from just being the playthings of the gods to being beloved of a specific god, or certain pathways were taken where each soul was seen as respected on its own journey and that sort of thing. Suddenly slavery starts to disappear. And so even that is not a complete rule for slavery, right? Because the Victorians, well, they were fighting against slavery for a while, so was, a lot of other countries. And that was in the face of religion. So, but generally speaking, it's what's the value of a life. If a life has value, then suddenly slavery starts becoming problematic. So it is possible. It's absolutely possible. And again, you go, well, here we have gods that give priests powers. So if a god says, you are not allowed to enslave a fellow sentient being, well, then slavery just wouldn't happen because it was literally dictated to by a god. And it wasn't interpreted or suggested or misinterpreted, because so many times we see cultural and political systems using religion as a means to form slavery and to justify it. So it's a fascinating question. And I think what I find wonderful is so many people have played in Braxia and have wanted to liberate slaves. And so they've gone in and they've fought against the slavers and they've liberated slaves, and they've had those wonderful opportunities to interact with the slaves and to see the slaves grow and become their own individuals and take charge of their destiny. I have really enjoyed seeing that. So by putting in this negative, people turn it into a positive and they enact the positivity of it, which I think is great. Jay McCoy, when does the Kickstarter actually launch? It actually launches in 8 minutes today. 8 minutes today. It will launch officially. Laura Bone says, I hope you are taking good care of your skilly boy back there. Yes, what Laura is referring to is this gentleman over here, and that is for a Halloween party that we're going to be throwing at the end of the month. So there we are. There we saw him and we're like, nah, we gotta have him. Second Hand says, hand drawn is cool. Give it to the players and so on. Absolutely agree. As book jackets, your OG hand drawn map on one inner flap and the current modern map on the other side. That's a good idea, Eric. Putting in the old maps and the new maps. Right. Yep, West End Games for the win. That damn guy. Are we ever going to get a Great GM book collection tour? What do you mean by tour? I'm interested. Tell me more. Yeah, this is the 7th book. I think it's the 7th. Might be the 8th. No, it's the 7th book that we've done. Let's see. Jay McCoy, will there be a pronunciation guide for these in the book? And when does the Chaos actually launch? So Chaos is launching now in 6 minutes. Will there be a pronunciation guide? Absolutely. So I have the benefit of speaking 2 different groups. I've got the English and then I've got Germanic, a couple of languages in the Germanic language, and then a couple in the Nguni language. So that allows me to have these weird and wonderful pronunciations, but there will be a pronunciation guide for every single one of these weird and wonderful words. At the same time, once you get this book and start running a game in it, it's your world. So it might be pronounced in my world, Dach, but in yours, it's Dutch or Dak or Daka. Entirely up to you. Okay. That was that question there. Valoriand Mefer says, I just want to say you're awesome and I have been watching for stuff for a long time. Saw your live plays and loved the Duskborn game. Thank you so much for that. And my goodness, did I love the Duskborn game? Yes, I did. I really did love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Another question from the instrument formerly known as Mayonnaise. What's the instrument currently known as? Are there any rules for player bases in the setting guide? Or do you have rules you like for building player bases? Yes, yes, yes. I swear I'm not paying you to ask these wonderful leading questions. There are rules for player bases. Now, with 5.24 coming out, the DMG introduced the idea of bastions, which was a way of creating player bases. Oh, as usual, I read the rules and went, Oh, I'm sorry. This is just ridiculous. Why would we want to do this? This is so much admin. It's what? What? No, this is not making it fun. This is making it accountancy. No. So I have, again, written my own rules that use the Bastion system as a base, so you can still pull stuff from the DMG if you want to, but it doesn't just let you build a little tiny outpost that's got 5 little rooms. You're like, oh, this room's so sweet. No, this allows you to build a citadel. You can build a castle at any scale you like, provided that you've got the cash, the funding, the resources, the land, and the patronage of the local lord, and you can build as big as you like, or you can use natural terrain. If you're a druid, you can designate an oak tree as your giant home. And as you add things to that oak tree and the surrounding territory, standing stones, swamps, rivers, cool looking tree statues, whatever, it will grow and be as powerful as a giant stronghold made out of stone. The strongholds get converted into a character card, if you will, which means using the giant armies, your armies can attack strongholds. And strongholds can attack strongholds if they're mobile. And, you know, you certainly could do it. It's magic, right? So yes, there are definitely rules for player bases. Derek is great. Yes, he is. I agree with you there. DBK, question. Any information about how shipping will work regarding the book? Hello from France. Hello, France. So, with 3 minutes to go, shipping works pretty much how it has always done for all of our books. We will start shipping probably towards the end of next year, if all things are equal. And the way the shipping works is that you get billed for shipping separately from the Kickstarter through BackerKit, and you only get billed for shipping about a month before we actually ship the book. So you're not paying for shipping before the book is printed. You're not paying for shipping before the book is made. The book will be made first, then you pay for shipping. Why do we do this? Well, there's bottom line, unfortunately, is the shipping fees are up and down depending on what certain presidents have said about what tax fees are going where and how and who knows what the hell happens. A Panama Canal crash closes down the shipping lanes. Shipping prices are all over the place. And unfortunately, and this is a lesson that was learned by many Kickstarters in the past, is if we bill you for everything up front, we might bill you, let's say, $10 for shipping. A year later, that same shipping cost is $25, which it's great for you as the customer, but that means that all the money that was raised on the Kickstarter actually just gets sent over to the shipping company, which means that the creator is no longer able to live and sustain themselves. So it's always done last, and then we have distribution houses in Europe, we have a distribution house in the US, and a distribution house in the UK, and they handle all of the distribution. But it'll all be explained in the Kickstarter page, which is launching in 1 minute's time. So let's go there finally. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and now it's time to go there. I'm very excited. Oh my goodness. Right, I just need this here. I need there. Okay, great stuff. This is super exciting, folks. So I'm gonna let's just wait for 8 o'clock and we'll punch that button. We need an AI doppelganger of Guy. No, you do not. You really don't. You really don't. Last question. Rick Music says, I've had access to the Braxia map via Patreon previously. Will access to it be linked from the book in any way? So if you are part of the book, if you buy the book in the Kickstarter, the app comes with that as an optional add-on. As a Patreon member, what we're going to do is what you have got is complete in terms of all of the content. Any additional and new content would be part of the new app, which you would need to purchase yourself. Now, that new app has got to have different features from the current app, but again, I'll go into those in more detail. It's 8 o'clock. I'm hitting the ready to launch button, and kapow! And that was not what I thought it was going to be. And once again, kapow! And it's never as dramatic. It never as... Did it work? Did it work? It's live! It's live! There we go. Okay, it's live. It's live. Now, folks, if you're sitting there going, wait a minute, £45,000, that's insane, right? That's a huge number. Why are we going after that number? You must be a whole bunch of greedy, nasty people. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's not actually a secret, because if you've ever done a Kickstarter, you'll know this. Most Kickstarters will set their funding goal at about 10% of their actual costs, right? Their actual costs. Why do they do this? Because they want to be able to go, oh, we were fully funded in 5 minutes. That is, under most circumstances, absolute rubbish. They reached a random number that they chose in under 5 minutes. But that's not the actual cost of the book. And so we looked at it and we said, right, what is the actual cost of this book? If we look at it with brass tacks, we sit down and we say, what is this going to cost the company? I can tell you, there's an editor who needs to get paid. There is our amazing graphic designer who needs to get paid. There is our monster consultant and supervisor of all things D&D rules-based consultant who needs to get paid, right? So those are 3 that need to be paid. There's the printers who need to be paid. There is the printing company who needs to be paid, because they're never the same people, right? So there are a whole lot of costs, which normally we would just hide away and say, yeah, we're aiming for £10,000, which is what most people do. But that's not the actual cost. And because we are looking at it going, well, this is a year-long project, someone has to be sitting here writing this stuff. And I have written a lot of stuff already, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. But someone has to physically put this together, send it to the editors, get it back from the editors, make changes, make updates, make suggestions, etc., etc., etc. That takes a tremendous amount of time. Not to mention Derek's time, which is something that a lot of people don't think about when they're running Kickstarters. He will spend, once shipping has started, so forget about before shipping, that's still him working out logistics. But once the shipping has actually started, that's another 3 to 4 months of him answering emails. My shipment did arrive, this didn't arrive, this arrived damaged, I need photographic evidence so that the courier company pays for a new book, all of that kind of stuff. So we're like, well, what would it cost us to actually do it? And that's £45,000. It sounds insane, but that is actually a low price because I do all of the artwork. And if I didn't do all of the artwork, you'd be looking at about £60,000 to just generate the book. Forget anything else. So that's why we said, you know what, we're putting it in at a fixed value. If we get that, we get that. We know then that we can deliver the book and we can take our time delivering the book and we can make it exactly how we want it to look. So that's the plan. That's the plan. All right. I'm going to take you very quickly through this so that you can have a look at it and see what's there. So compatible with 5th edition, there's 22 regions, there's 5 campaign plans, but wait, there's not 5 campaign plans. There are currently 5 campaign plans. Oh, beg your pardon. There is a new campaign which you are going to help me create. And how are we going to do this? We are going to do this by this. And you go, what the heck is that? What is that? Well, that is a link that is on the Kickstarter. It is now also in chat. And this is on our website. This is the Battle of Braxia. And it allows you to very quickly just click on a region. So let's click on, let's say, Brunei. You click on Brunei, it brings up a species card, a culture card of Brunei, gives you a little bit of information on Brunei, and then you can choose to support it. And so it doesn't matter where you go, they've all got the same thing, you can choose to support them. Every country, every region that gets 10 or more supporters can invade another region, because this is the war to end all wars. And if they have been invaded, 10 supporters means they can kick out the invaders. So there are little nations like the little Iceni, the Chungdos. I mean, you can vote. You need to vote. You can only vote once. So choose wisely. Choose wisely. Help us to make this a really cool space. And throughout the course of the Kickstarter, I'll be updating you on this and letting you know where we are sitting. So make sure you choose whom you are supporting. Find out what appeals to you and let me know. And then this will be turned into a sixth campaign that then gets added to the book. So I think that's pretty exciting. You know, we were talking about what can we do, and I'm like, I just love this stuff. I love it. You're like, oh, cool, let's go to the Cathon. No, let's support the goblins. No, I want to do the elves. Whatever, right? So that is how you're going to be, hopefully, participating on that one. Now, back to the website. Okay, cool. So now I just need to hide that in the background. Good stuff. Good stuff. So yes, 12 new classes. We're adding in new classes with subclasses. There's 5 new species, monsters, different types of magic. I have magic in my world, different types of magic from the standard D&D stuff. These are all obviously compatible with D&D. They tweak how the current D&D spells work, or, and this is important, they tell you mechanically what they do to whatever magic you have in your game system. So if you were to use this for Star Wars, just because it's been coming up in conversation, well, you could. And then if you use blood magic as part of your Star Wars Force stuff, blood magic does certain things to the way the Force works. Weird example, but that's what it is, right? So then there's the rules for the castles and stuff, and then just dozens of NPCs. I didn't even bother working it out. I'm like, there's NPCs everywhere, and there's 22 regions, and each region's got like 10 NPCs. There's 220 NPCs. That's insane. So yes, as you can see, we've got the different regions and things. I mean, you could go through this. There's the free sample of the kind of content that you will see. It's once again, it's a hazine. Marie pointed these out to me, and I'm like, those are so cool. So much more interesting than just a standard PDF. Then there's the app, which I want to do voices for, which is something that we want to get funding for. There's the Battle of Braxia, which hopefully you can help and answer the call. The different campaigns, hundreds of adventures, the new species, of course. This is all human generated. So yeah, you can have fun going through all of this stuff. There's the Bastion rules that I was talking about. I turned them into playing cards because I find that's the easiest way for the players to keep track of their castle. So that will be there. Again, patrons, you've got these. This Kickstarter will quadruple the amount of locations and things that you have already got. So don't think that you're missing out. All right, there's so much more. Right, the first 100 backers, this is important. The first 100 backers, you will get your name in the book. After that, I'm afraid we have to cut it off. It did get to a point where we were basically printing 8 pages to include people's names, so small that it became very difficult to find your name in the end. We're like, so we're going to do it for the first 100. There's the team, and what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful team of people. Yeah, all the different tiers that you can back at, and most of them include pretty much everything. There aren't any sort of funky or hidden tiers and things. We've got some funding stretch goals to add more and more and more and more and more stuff. So have a look at those. There's all of the shipping information that you could want. Australia, we love you. But again, we need to get at least 100 backers. Why? Because otherwise the shipping fee is like $60 per book, which is more expensive than the book. It's the same reason why we don't ship to South America. Taxes on a book being shipped into the country is 100%. It's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. And then some of the other books, you can see there, all the other books that we have released over the course of the last few years. Again, thanks to your support. So there we are. Right, so the Kickstarter is now live. It is doing its thing. Thank you for being part of that. I'm going to go back to some of your questions whilst we move forward. £2,500 already, almost. I mean, that's 41 backers. That's brilliant. I mean, you guys, I'm gobsmacked every time this happens, right? Just gobsmacked. Whew. Right. Here, it's always an extreme moment of trepidation. It doesn't matter how many of these things you release, there is always that, are people going to like this? And to be fair, we've got a good ways to go. We've got a good ways to go. This might not come to light. But that's why we do Kickstarters. That's why we do Kickstarters. So there we go. Right. Is there any characters in Braxia history that had the most influence on the world as a whole? There are several hugely influential characters in Braxia. As far as canon is concerned, there are the three: the dwarf, the elf, and the vampire. A cleric, a warrior, and a mage, whom came together to expel and destroy the great dragon gods after the reign of the dragons. The dragons ruled for about 10,000 years. These three characters came together, and at tremendous sacrifice to the majority of the individuals across Braxia, they united, they unleashed a spell which effectively destroyed the dragon gods and allowed the old gods of Brax and Ma'at and company to return. That campaign, we discover all kinds of things. And if you watch the very, very early adventures of the Windswift, they discovered what happened actually to the dragons, which was not what everyone thought it was. So yes, there's definitely those kind of NPCs. Yeah. Oh, it skipped. It always jumps right to the end, and I'm like, no. Agile Monk says it's called being honest about your Kickstarter. There's honesty, there's marketing, and the two are not necessarily bedfellows. So I appreciate that comment, though. I really do. Because you're like, let's be honest with people. And the marketing people are going, but should you? But should you? Do you want to make your money? Do you want to have media rights? Do you want to be able to flood everyone with, hey, we've done this, we've done that? Or do you want to just run it like, it really is running? Anyway, that's a whole different kettle of fish. Do you want undead centaur armies everywhere? Because that's how you get undead centaur armies everywhere. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You are absolutely right. Any recent updates to the Pantheon of the Gods? Asking for a friend. So my last campaign in Braxia, the gods were killed. Obliterated by the players, who then learned that being a god is not all it's cracked up to be. So yes, no, that was, and that to me is a good example, I think, of how Braxia works, or at least how my brain works anyway, is that we have these group of players who start out, and the players came to me and said, hey, we've got this MacGuffin, this book that is heretical about the gods. We're not entirely sure what it is, but it kind of challenges the gods maybe, or it does this or it does that. And I'm like, this is so cool. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's incorporate it. And then you sit back and you go, okay, cool. So now how are the actual gods going to deal with this? What could this be? How could this work? And then you create an entire campaign off of the players coming to you and saying, we've got this little idea, which turned out to be a mind-blowing idea. Really loved it. Uruk says, will the Braxia World Map app be functional for uploading our own worlds and lore for each location using the same engine? If not, why not? Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. It absolutely is the world map. The software itself, you can load up pretty much anything you like into it. Sorry, I was just sort of opening up an example. But yes, you can load in your own stuff. And importantly, it's designed that you can add in your own notes. So as you're going along, it's like, hang on, my players, I'm just busy bringing up the screen real quick. So I can hide that and put that in there. So let's say, for example, we are in, I don't know, let's go to Sanctum and Sanctuary, the Druid territories. Let's say they're in Denethwold. And you're like, okay, cool. Right, here we are in Denethwold, and you can see there's that little bit of a write-up. But my players have now traveled to this unnamed town here, this little spit of a square. Why is it unnamed? Because that's for you to name or for your players to name. You just click on a button called Add Marker. You click on where you want to add the marker, and it says, right, what do you want? Do you want this to be a town name? Do you want this to be a location, a place, an adventure, lore, NPC, other item, whatever? There's only a few categories. This is not about overwhelming anybody. And then you just write it in, and then it's automatically saved. And off you go. You've now got your own little space that you've now added. And of course, yes, you can delete these things too, because that's how it goes. So you can fully load in your own maps, you can load in your own lore, your own characters, everything you like. We are adding, part of the Kickstarter is, for example, let's say here in the, why is this not opening up? Open Sesame. It's not opening up. I've broken it. May have discovered a bug. Interesting. On a live stream. Of course we did. Nope, that's opening up. What did I do? Oh, I'm double clicking. Idiot. It's a single click. Right. So let's, one of the things that we're wanting to add is we're wanting to be able to add, instead of just adding a new link to another map or to a website, we want to be able to add in imagery. We want to be able to add in pictures or link PDFs, so you can just dump these in there and have access to them. Because really this was me going, you know, this is how I think of Braxia. I think of it as visual, and I zoom in and I get inspiration, as I spoke about at the beginning of the stream. Right. Going down. I've got to the end of the chat. My goodness, I've caught up finally. Just in time. World building. Hello. Any chance of getting like Roll20 VTT integration? So that may or may not be one of the funding goals that we're looking at, because we know a lot of people are interested in that. A lot of people are really after that. And that is literally going to be one of the funding goals. Like, hey, if we can get there, that's fantastic. We can bring in an expert to load it all up for us and make it all work properly, because that's what needs to happen. Is it needs to go there. So absolutely, it's on the cards. But we just need to get there first. It's not a priority at this particular moment in time. Plate tectonics. Are there areas of the map which are susceptible to earthquakes, says Glenn. So plate tectonics in Braxia is an interesting one. If you look at the map of Braxia, the Kabalia territory here, it's the center of the world. And the reason for it is the world has actually spiraled out from the Kabalia territories. There are fracture lines. The entire planet was one. Something slammed into the middle of it, created the Kabalia, and fractured out these lines in all different directions. So yes, there are pressure points. Usually they are at connecting points. Usually they're at connecting points. Or they've just split continents in half. So Talentari Bay, you can see there's a fracture line that runs straight up from the Kabalia through Talentari Bay. It does the same thing down south through the Dwarvish territories into Lake Curtis Nech, right? And through Gala Bay. And it's split out this way, and it's split through the Orc territories. So that is the thinking. You've got these mountains here, which are full of volcanoes that are really, 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 really bad. You have the epicenter of that impact, which is still volcanic. So yes, there are some plate tectonics, but those happened a very long time ago, and magic has been used and warped multiple times. The Druids of Sanctum, they have rebelled so hard against Drakenmore, against other decisions that were made on a global scale, and they may have been modifying climate and terrain and stuff. The Assissus Kingdom is an unnatural desert that was formed by the Snake Queen for her broods. So yeah, it's pretty chaotic. An asteroid from the comets, from the gods, absolutely. Right, so those are all of the questions that have come up, which is great. Thank you for all of those questions. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And, you know, I did say that I wanted to show you the book as it currently stands. And it needed to be open. So this is the book as it currently stands. It is 40,000 words long at the moment, but what I have done is I have broken it up into different chapters. Some of the chapters I have been releasing to my patrons over the course of a year. Some of the chapters still need to be written, and some need to be populated. But for example, with magic, how does magic work? What are the different types of magic? There are broad strokes classifications, and you can see here, these are the bookmarks of all the different chapters, and these are major chapters, not sub-chapters, that need to be added in or that are already in the book. So there's trade items. Where are we? Is this the Sagetti? Yeah, you can see dragon glass. You buy it at £1. This is the cost of dragon glass. That's what you sell it for. This is not to create a socio-economic game, by the way. This is because these questions pop up. Hey, how much does this cost? How much does that cost? This, for example, lich dust, because there are so many necropolises in the Sagetti territory and in Drakkenmore, you take a lich, you grind it up, that dust is worth something, and here's where it's worth. Where does that come from? That comes from our own Earth culture of using mummies from Egypt or from, Peru or from China, using them for firewood, grinding them up and turning them into aphrodisiacs. So just everything is drawn from. Everything is drawn from. And tea, oh my goodness, the different types of tea that you can have. Yeah, so anyway. There is all that going on, and so this is the book. There is stuff here. Want to buy a griffin? Sure, there it is. Want to know how to ride that griffin? Well, there's some rules on that, etc., etc. So this is the unpretty version. This is literally just a Word dump into a PDF, and as you can see, I can keep going and going and going and going and going and going. There is a lot of information that's already been created. There is a lot of information that still needs to be created, and again, that's why we are doing this Kickstarter. So folks, oh, there's another question that's just come in. First Skull asked this question first. How much background lore will there be for those not familiar with Braxia? Well, there is tons of background lore, but at the same time, if you have the 10 minutes to go and watch a history piece on ancient China, on Egypt, on the Roman Empire, on the Nazis, on the Khanates of India, you will be familiar with the space in Braxia because it draws heavily from these different cultures. And it embraces them and changes them and challenges them and molds them and fuses them together. Braxia is not one of these places where you're going to walk in and someone will say, oh, well, you know that this is the thing and this is the thing in those mountains and there's 12,000 books that have been written on those mountains and you've got to go and read them all. No, it's not like that. There is as much information as you could possibly want, but it's in a way, presented in a way that it's like surface, slightly deeper, even deeper. So it's up to you as to how much you want to take in. The notion of a Braxia book has been floated by the community for a long time. What made you to decide to do this and that this was the time to do it? I want to say two things. Firstly, I have completed writing all of the books that I feel support the How to Be a Great GM channel. Great Player was the last book in the series in terms of these are my thoughts on all of the different aspects of being a GM and being a player. So that was now completed. I had finished the 2 role-playing games that I wanted to work on, although I want to go back to those and do re-releases with updates and so on and so forth. But Braxia, people have been asking for it for a very long time. And to be perfectly honest with you, this would be and will be the biggest book that I write in terms of just volume of content. Because if I'm going to write it, I'm going to do it properly. And that's the one side. The other side is that I am a very visual thinker. And when I'm writing, when I'm creating, when I'm augmenting, when I'm adding in stuff to Braxia, I have the world, I have the Goblin World Tracker open and I'm zooming in and I'm going, okay, cool. What's happening in the great fields of the southern great fields? What's happening in these fields of Southern? Why they're called the fields of Southern? southern, is it in the south? Well, kind of, but not if you're looking at it from Hunlee's perspective, then it's the north, right? Anyway, so I needed this app to work, and the Web Goblin did a remarkable job on building this thing for me so that I could start to populate and to work through it in a way that made sense as well. You know, when you're working on a world like this, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. Let me just bring this back so you can see what I'm looking at. It's very, very easy to get overwhelmed and go, I've got so much to write. Whereas here, I'm going, okay, cool. I feel like working on Kabali's stuff. Let's work on some Kabalia stuff. I can go in, I can see where I've already started to write stuff in terms of information, like the pirates that live in the 1,000-tier islands. But, oh, I haven't done anything about Hajak, the Hajak swamps. What is going on in the Hajak swamps? Or I know the Sa'ai salt desert is made out of salt and will cut through your shoes because I've dropped in some information there. I want to know more. Or let's look at all of these tombs that are here. These tombs there's no information. There's no information on what these tombs are. Now I can go in and add some information in there. Shadvoth Forest. So that's how I work. And this app really allowed me to be able to do that. To then write stuff, populate it, see that it's been populated, feel like I've achieved something without becoming overwhelmed. DBK asks a general question, and if I've missed your questions before, I forgive you. Forgive me. Please ask them again. More of a general one. Now that you've designed a whole world, what would be the best advice you'd give to someone wishing to world build a continent for a TTRPG? As I have literally just said, do not try and do the entire thing. Don't become overwhelmed. Break it down and draw inspiration from what inspires you. And in my case, it's maps that inspire me. So if it's a continent, and these are large spaces, right? So these are 200 miles across. I could spend an entire day just adding in. Would you please stop telling me to stand or sit? I know. Sorry, it's my desk. It's like you have to stand now. You have to sit now. But I can just dip my toe in here and again, not feel overwhelmed. So that is exactly what I would do, how I would do it. Rick says, regarding historical YouTube related content, is there culture really, is it going to be based there? Yes. So if it's, for example, ancient Egypt, I'll say this is drawn heavily from ancient Egypt. This is drawn heavily from the Nazi ideals of 1938. This is drawn from the Scottish Highlands. This is drawn from this place and that place. So I will reference it. It also, that gives me a lot of opportunity to know that the reader will have some background knowledge. And if you've ever watched my videos, you'll know that I'm constantly saying, go look at history. History's got everything you need. It really does. It really does. Did someone say pirates? Indeed they did. Indeed they did. Trinda 1701. That's a very auspicious number. So based on the map, you have desert and mountains, but are there Arctic lands to the north? Does that mean there could be more continents? So let us go back to the full map. Now, up here in the Bandad Wastes, Firstly, there's a lot of cold up here, but there is something that's missing from this map. And the reason why it's missing was because I was using Incarnate and I had to export this map a little piece at a time, and I had to build it a little piece at a time because Incarnate did not support this map scale. This map, by the by, the original version is 22 or 24,000 pixels long. When you print it out, it prints out at a legible scale at just under 9 foot long, right? This is a gigantic map because I wanted the detail. So there are Arctic territories to the north and to the south, which would complete the map, but I couldn't actually put it in there when I wanted to. But because those territories are very isolated, the north is controlled by ice giants and white dragons, and it's just a lot of fun. I specifically wanted stuff. And in the south, well, no one's ever gone to the southern ice sheet in many years, in all of the years, as a matter of fact, but they're linked to a specific structure which we find right down here called the Gam Spire, which is the tallest mountain in all of Braxia. So there's some cool stuff that happens down there. So hopefully with the funding, we can add in that additional information. So there we are. Excellent. Right, folks, I think it is time to call it. This has been an amazing launch. We are almost 10% of the way to our target, which is fantastic. And this is why I don't do maths. For those of you looking at the number going, 10%? No, you're wrong. Anyway, see, it's the marketing in me that's coming through. Anyway, I thank you for spending this time with me. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for all of your amazing, wonderful questions. And I will keep you updated. Watch the Kickstarter page, watch the socials, and so on, because who knows? We might be doing another stream next week where we're talking more stuff on Braxia and the Kickstarter. We might not be. It just depends on how things progress. These things are an ebb and a flow, as you know. And so that's where we are at. Yes, thank you for all being in chat. And until we meet again, I haven't said this in quite a long time. I wish you and yours the very happiest of gaming.